Well, shoot.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for proving I didn't kill anyone. You were so certain I killed someone when Mr. Hood was here yesterday. He told me. When the man gave me the knife, I knew I had to find some way to save myself. It was Mr. Wright. I was Mr. Wright's prime suspect. He thought I was the big bad killer. If I didn't act, I'd be arrested, so... You got yourself arrested? It worked, didn't it? I told you I don't make mistakes. So I played along with you. I got your attention. Just enough to make you question your assumptions about me. You knew it was too simple for me to be the true culprit. With 3 murders, it would have to be more complex. If I told you I was innocent, you never would have believed me. Not that you'd have taken my case anyway. This way, I both threw the blame on D. Killer, releasing me from him, and I got a defense attorney without ever paying him a dime. Hey! That's not fair! Not fair, Mr. Wright. Neither would have been the atrociously high legal fees you'd have charged me.
You tried to kill me.
Please, if I meant to kill you, I'd have done so before you had a chance to scream. I had every opportunity to just sneak up and get you from behind, but I didn't. Why do you think I spent so much time explaining myself? I just needed to buy enough time for the idiot detective to show up and arrest me. Or did you really think you were going to die?
So you knew that Waters was going to... It sure seemed like it at the time.
Good. I haven't lost my touch. That's good. You could have explained to me what really happened. Why should I trust you? I had to work to save myself, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Miss, you keep saying the phrase save yourself. Is there a reason for that?
I saw Mr. Black being buried. I convinced the killer to keep me around to help him in the future. But I didn't know what that would mean. He could use me for anything. Or maybe he'd kill me to keep me from talking. Anything could go wrong. I couldn't do anything to upset him, but I didn't know what would upset him. That kind of paranoia isn't healthy. So when Rosencrantz died, Mr. Hood and I saw our chance. We subtly point the police to the killer and free ourselves from his grasp.
And who was this murderer you saw?
Shelley D. Killer. I'm glad you asked.
Oh, okay.
Yep. A month back, I saw Shelley D. Killer burying a man. He caught me and was going to kill me, but decided not to. He made me help in exchange for my life. It was exhilarating and terrifying and exhilarating.
Terrifying.
Mr. Hood found out. He had to be silenced, but I failed. Mr. Hood agreed to help me form an alibi. I knew it was D. Killer, so he left his card at the scene. Later, he gave me the knife. He'd killed the Porter woman. He said to hide it, but before I could find a better spot, the other girl found it. I was arrested on the spot.
Your Honor, the witnesses are either lying or delusional. As was discussed previously, the man in question could not be the culprit. Therefore, we know from the get-go that her very premise is wrong. It is impossible for Shelley D. Killer to have given her anything.
Hold on a moment. If you don't mind, I'd like to test a theory of mine I've been having.
Test that thing, man.
Odd wording.
Yes, go ahead.
I believe she did see the man who killed Mr. Black and Miss Porter. Now, it wasn't D. Killer, but I have a feeling once we find out who it was, we'll have our mastermind.
Are you saying the Rosencrantz and Guildenstern crimes had separate killers? That would have to be the result of your logic.
No, I'm saying just the opposite. The prosecution has been on the wrong track this whole time. The defendant never killed anybody.
Then who was it?
I can't say, so for now, why don't we just call him Shelley D. Killer?
That's not going to be confusing, even though it wasn't.
Jane seems to think it was. Whatever that means, I'm sure it has a profound implication for our case.
It still bothers me we're going with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Let's call them Jimmy and Black.
This would have been Guildenstern. Would you recognize the killer if you saw him? Obviously I would. That's what happened. Do you know who it was? It isn't as if he told me his name. How moronic would that be? Besides that, he kept his face covered the whole time. I told you I guessed he was Shelley D. Killer, but I guess that's not good enough for you. But it wasn't anybody you recognized at the time. No, I did not recognize him. He was not anybody I recognized. Maybe that's something to go on? Jane seems to be telling the truth this time, so I should be able to learn something. Why didn't he? Simple. I convinced him I was worth more alive. Doesn't sound so simple to me. It is if you know what people want. You've seen me, so you know I can convince people well. I saw that he wasn't from the area and would need somebody on the inside. Killing me would result in Mr. Hood reporting it. That would just create unwanted attention. The killer wouldn't want attention. He would want to keep it a secret. All true, but you were a murder witness. Yes, wasn't I? He should have killed me right there. It would have been the smarter choice, in my opinion.
How fortunate. What did you promise him?
How did you convince him to let you live? I told him I'd help him cover for the crime, which I had every intention of doing. You had no qualms about helping a killer? Mr. Wright, place yourself in my position. Look at it from my view. Doing anything else would have been idiocy. I was certain I would die if I did not cooperate. This was the only way to protect myself. Having qualms doesn't mean you need to be stupid. That man could have come back at any time and decided you weren't useful anymore. I know, I realized that immediately, almost right away. And that's why I had to figure out a way to get away from him. But I couldn't trust anyone. When did he figure it out? Mr. Hood always realized something was up. He knew right away. But he didn't confront me until the other night.
You refer to Mr. Jameson's murder.
Yes, we noticed the people screaming and chasing each other outside. Mr. Hood made the connection and demanded to know what I was hiding. I couldn't trust him with that kind of secret, so I did the only thing that made sense. I tried to hit him with that bottle and escape. But he's your father! He's not my father. I won't trust Mr. Hood any more than I will you or anyone else. He could have betrayed me and told the police. Besides, what if the killer found out I told? I might die, or Mr. Hood might die. The secret should have remained my burden, my own. How horrible would it be to live? How horrible would it be to live thinking you can't trust anyone? Welcome to my life. She was raised to think this way. She might never grow out of it. He genuinely believed you'd done it? I only told him so much. That was not much at all. He was more it's supposed to be used to me thinking I'd done it. He was more use?
He was more use.
Jesus Christ.
He was more use.
Maybe that's just wrong. More helpful, more active. That's pretty cold. Thank you. I don't see why I should care what he felt so long as I came out on top in the end. Feelings are momentary, they don't last long. But my life, my freedom, those aren't momentary, not at all. And Mr. Hood knows this, so I'm sure he doesn't mind. Why did you suddenly decide you could trust him? I didn't, but I didn't have much choice. I could tell he was on my side, at least for the time being. And that's how we formed our plan. How did you know it was D. Killer? I saw him a long time ago when I was just a child.
Do you have photographic memory?
I do.
You saw Shelley D. Killer.
It was only shortly, but the moment is burned into my memory. I remember death, silence. He'd killed someone, though I didn't know who at the time.
How could you remember a face you'd only seen once before so long ago?
I don't remember the face, but everything else about D. Killer is clear to me. That's why I knew it was him. Jane didn't see the real D. Killer last month. She saw another man who killed Mr. Black. Her brain must have associated the murder with her father's. She might not even have a name. What? She might not even have put a name to it until Mr. Hood confronted her. This was the same man who you saw before? That is correct. The same person who was burying Black also gave me the knife.
Of course, this D killer whom we know does not even exist.
Look at you. You think you're so smart, but you're utterly missing the point.
And what would that be?
It doesn't matter if it was actually Shelley D. Killer or not, does it? I'm honestly embarrassed that a prosecutor of your experience does not realize the implications. Am I not correct, Mr. Wright? I wouldn't put it so rudely, but she's right.
Carry on. What did you do with the knife?
But you meant for her to find it. I'm always watching for opportunities. When I saw Trucy searching the place, I knew it would be better to point her the right way. What?
Point her in the right direction.
But she found it on her own.
I don't know.
She'd already found the card and knife. I would instantly become a suspect.
She's so delusional right now, so...
Which I already was, by the way, if you recall.
But you didn't have to scare me.
I needed to set off warning bells for Mr. Wright. If you'd merely found the evidence, he might actually think I did it. By upping the ante and the stakes, I made him question his conceptions of the case. This way he actively worked to find me innocent. This way was much better.
Ugh. Makes sense in a really weird and twisted way.
I, for one, am glad I don't have to share a mind with her.
Yeah. I think anybody would be happy for that.
This was all just to get my attention? The whole goal was to make people realize D. Killer was the culprit. The arrest, my confrontation with Trucy, it was all part of the plan.
Hey, Jane. How's the head?
I'm not sure I understand. What is it that you mean?
Your head. Don't you remember? You wouldn't have planned on that.
What are you talking about? I don't recall anything about my head.
You really don't remember it? Nothing at all? Oh, I must be stronger than I realize.
What are you two talking about?
Bashed her over the fucking skull. Oh, nothing. Just a little something Mr. Waters and I left out of the police report.
Okay, now I'm worried.
See, I told you Waters was going to do some dark shit. Jane sounds like she's telling the truth.
She isn't leaving anything out. The issue is that it conflicts with what we know.
You mean Howdy Killer was never really there?
Right.
Oh, maybe that means something. Keep pressing her and maybe you'll figure it out. No? What? Maybe there's something to point back to the rest of the case.
Oh, nothing jumped out at me. A month back I saw Shelley D. Killer burying a man. He caught me and was going to kill me, but decided not to. He made me help in exchange for my life. Mr. Hood found out he had to be silenced, but I failed. Mr. Hood agreed to help me form an alibi. I knew it was D. Killer, so he left his card at the scene. Later, he gave me the knife. He killed the Porter woman. He said to hide it, but before I could, I'd find a better spot. The other girl found it. I was arrested on the spot. If only there wasn't so much testimony!
Yeah.
Fucking Christ. Okay. Oh God, look at her face!
Oh geez, that is a good place to freeze her face at. Like, man, I'm high as fuck right now.
She almost looks normal.
Yeah, kinda. Just tone down the whites and reds a little bit, and you got something. Shovel.
I've always thought this looked like a pie.
Yeah.
I have no clue.
I don't know either, man. Nothing's jumping out. I Can't link anything.
I mean, I assume it has something... What we know about the case thus far.
We know a bunch of convoluted shit. We know the mud texture is right over the photo.
I don't know. I'm literally drawing a blank.
Call an audible.
Yeah. I mean, aside from pressing everything again, I have no idea.
Present Yossarian's profile at the first or seventh statement.
At the first or seventh?
First or seventh.
Like how they're still calling him Yossarian in that.
Yeah, is he? Oh, yeah.
Because they don't want to spoil that he's Menderes.
Yeah.
The same person murdered Mr. Black and Miss Porter. Jane saw him, remembered him, and then received the knife. But throughout all of that, she never found out his name.
Would you expect him to freely tell it to her?
No, I wouldn't. That wouldn't be smart at all. That's right, and he kept his face covered so I couldn't see it. The important thing was that she knew it was the same person both times. That's more valuable to us than any name.
Any name?
Yeah, I know. One thing she said was that she didn't recognize him. Jane, could you do something for me? Answer me just one question. What is it? This man sitting over here in the defendant's chair. Do you know him? Of course I do. He lives next door to me. What is his name? Francisco Menderes. One more question. Just one more. Witness, where has Mr. Menderes been for the past 4 days? In jail. Porter and Black had the same killer. Black and Jameson had the same killer. All 3 people were murdered by the same person. My client couldn't have killed any of them.
Oh my, that's right. It was the same person for all 3.
Jane saw somebody, someone she thought was the killer. Now we know that it wasn't, but there's still the question of who it really was. We know now that it wasn't my client.
Then who?
Jane and her father planted the car to distract the police from her. It was also to point them in the direction of the man they thought had done it.
They really worked one over on us, huh?
It was just to protect ourselves, nothing more. I don't want to live in the shadow of some mass murderer, or be in his debt.
And what about the police? You should have reported the truth.
Why should I trust them? Any one person might have been working with the killer. I can't know your true motivations until I judge them for myself. A fool trusts people she doesn't know, and I'm no fool.
Was Mr. Hood in on this the whole time?
Mr. Hood has trained me to be like him, independent, untrusting. But he lives with me. He knows me well enough to guess my plans. He'd been looking for a way to corner D-Killer and keep him away from us for good. I imagine he picked up right away and played along when you spoke yesterday after my arrest. And you didn't know what to make of it. He did, but how do you know that? Because you're just so predictable. It's precious.
That's all quite interesting. Yet we shouldn't hold you any longer. I believe we can place you in police protection until this is resolved.
The offer is nice, but I'll look out for myself. You're gonna die.
If that's what you want. What will you do from here?
Me? I'm going to kill a whole bunch of people.
After all this, I don't believe you for a second.
I knew you'd say that.
Okay, well.
Your Honor, I want an extension.
A little psychopath runs off free. Well, I wouldn't have imagined it, but that girl just cleared the defendant. He couldn't possibly have stabbed Miss Porter, and if her killer was also killed Mr. Black, well, I just can't think of who it might be. One's case must always adapt to changing circumstances. As new information comes to light, the truth is slowly revealed. It is clear to me that Miss Hood's D killer is not the defendant.
So, is that it?
No. The suspect killed neither Miss Porter nor Black. I can see that now. I still believe he murdered Miss Jameson.
That's not possible. We know Jimmy and Mr. Black had the same killer.
Do we? Do we really? Up until now, we've come to that conclusion merely from the fact they were buried together. The idea relied on supposition and inconclusive testimony, but nothing substantial. Ergo, it is entirely possible they were separate killers.
You're gonna change your stance this late? We've been sure of it from the very beginning.
You leave me no choice. If you won't give me 2 counts of murder, I will settle for 1. But Francisco Mendez cannot be found innocent. I'm slamming my fist down. I will not give up on that verdict.
It's almost like I have some coffee here. There's the Great Bear!
Hello, Great Bear. The D killer whom Miss Hood met was one of Mendez's henchmen. Mr. Black was killed as a hit job on orders from his boss. Miss Porter was likewise assassinated in order to keep her silent. Only Stephen Jameson was murdered by Mendez himself. However, the shovel and the location of the bodies prove he knew about Mr. Black. As mastermind, all of the deaths are still on his head.
You think it was one of his henchmen?
And why not? The defendant has the perfect motive for all 3 murders.
Moitas.
But why should he bother to get his hands dirty? He's the Rivales Don.
And this henchman, who do you think it was?
Maybe we'll find that out. Maybe we won't. My case is against the suspect. I have 2 charges of murder to bring against him. As long as we have one, he goes away. The murder of Mr. Jameson is quite clearly his doing. Everything else is explained by a thug carrying out the rest of his dirty work. We already have his fingerprints on the shovel and a myriad more to tie him to the crimes. It was him. Dag nabbit, you don't know when to let go.
You know, that Mafia Don.
With that
Watch your mouth, son!
Nor will I ever, not after you mutilated that man like an animal. I will not stop until I see you get the justice you deserve.
Prosecutor, you're going too far. Step back for a moment and look how biased you're being.
He's the murderer. He has to be. I've looked the facts up and down and can't see any other possibility.
We will find that possibility if it exists. Now wait for me to give a rebuttal before we decide.
Stupid thing to try. Yes, you're right. If you can find fault, then do it. Either way, I want a conclusion. I believe that's enough arguing. We must hear the defense's rebuttal.
I believe that's enough arguing. Now we have to hear a response to the argument. What?
Mr. Wright, I believe you may now address the prosecution's statement. Without further ado.
What?
Not so fast. Hello, Waters. Hold up. There's been a development. I need to talk to the defense. Something's come up. Detective, you've interrupted us. Is it important?
I would hope so.
Can you not tell it to the court? No. What I have is between me and him. Yes, it's a private matter, and yes, it's relevant. It's important that we talk about it right now. If it is so urgent, you can just tell us now. I was about to finish this case. No, you weren't. Yeah, well, it can wait for 5 minutes. Chill, alright?
He's talking back to Obadiah.
Oh my god. Your Honor, right? And I'll just slip into the lobby. Oh, Jesus Christ.
You okay?
No, Your Honor, right, and I will just slip into the lobby for a moment. We'll be back before you know it. You seem nervous. If it's about the case, then yes, we'll go into recess. Everybody be back in here as soon as possible.
What's wrong with Waters? He stopped the trial just to talk to me? It must be serious. I'm worried what it might be. I don't play that! I don't do cliffhangers.
Of course you play that.
Nope.
Yep.
No. I'm continuing with or without you. What's wrong, Waters? Why'd you need me?
I've got something for you.
Oh, it's the bug.
Oh, here, a present from Gumshoe. Why didn't he come?
I was hoping. I was expecting a fly. Just, just hoping that stupid joke made its way into the game.
Here, a present from Gumshoe. They pulled the thing apart and dug up all its files and recorded the murder. There was a whole conversation and everything.
Oh, you got it? This'll definitely be useful. Thank you.
Right. It shows she was killed over Jameson's bottle thing. Check the recording on there and you'll see what I mean.
Well, that could have helped us about 30 minutes ago.
Yeah.
You don't seem happy about it.
Because right now, Boss is spewing a bunch of hooey. Why the heck do you think I pulled you aside by yourself? What do you mean? Because that little thing proves her killer was there at Jameson's murder. He was there to get her bottle, and she died keeping it hidden.
Williamson's on my side. He said he'd help me. We shouldn't hide this from him.
Dude, you saw him in there, right? Pulling out that crap about different killers. He just made that up. He almost let himself go off the deep end. I mean, if you hadn't been there. I won't let him screw this up for some kind of revenge. You're the one I'm coming to. Do you get it? Boss is wrong. Menderes didn't do it. This was all worth it. It won't be if you let Mr. Williamson get his way. He's going to chase this guy till the cows come home.
Till the cows suck.
Chuck home. Help me, will you? Menderes didn't stab Gladys. Whoever did kill Jameson in black too, from the sound of it.
If Menderes didn't, then who's left?
Well, let's just listen to the voice. Come on.
Well, it'd be pretty easy if you heard this.
It was Wayne Parker.
Why is she in our evidence?
I don't know. Why? Why was Dahlia in our evidence?
Because she was a plot point, and he looks unimpressed.
Hey, check.
Huh? How the heck did you get in here? Stay back! So this is truth? I'm not afraid to lose it. Go ahead. Cover your mouth.
Give me the bottle.
What bottle? What bottle, you joke?
I won't ask again.
And if I do give it to you, I'm sure you're just gonna let me walk away.
No. No, you have a good point. You have no incentive to give it up. But I'm on a tight schedule, you see, and I'm not above trying it from a cold, dead hand.
Help! Someone help! Okay.
And I'm recording.
Jesus.
Still not impressed.
What did you find?
Not a whole lot. Some of it was pretty vague. We knew most of it already. She's in the other lobby, I think. The whole thing was really last minute.
You can verify everything Trucy heard?
I guess most of it. We do have a reason to think Togomera never pulled the trigger on the kid.
Are you sure on that?
Sure? No. Chief said he doesn't remember him entering the records room. But there's always the chance that he snuck in somehow. Though there were parts in that diary you could never really prove either way. We'd let you know if we'd found anything really important, you know?
Well, thanks.
Oh yeah, one last thing.
Yes?
You've got one more piece of evidence coming your way. I had it brought in especially for you.
Okay, let's see it.
I'll let her hand it to you yourself. She came all the way here to do it.
Hello, Maya. She?
Hello, Maya. Me.
Maya, you're here.
Oh, did you find it?
Find it? Find what?
Damn it. I brought a letter somebody sent me before the reunion. It was about her. I think it was from the Rivales.
About Pearl?
Yes. The writer made threats about me and her.
See her, she's alive, you want her back, but she could never return. Stop trying to find her, cooperate, and nothing will go wrong. Don't. Well, then I couldn't promise Miss Pearl, fucking Christ. Miss Pearl's safety. You are the master.
I don't know why, but they really didn't want her returning. That was why Kurain happened. That was why everything happened.
Well, the good news is that I don't believe this was from Menderes.
You don't?
He was home free after MN6. Why would he care if anybody found Pearl? Remember yesterday when we spoke to him? He couldn't have cared less if we proved he murdered Luciano.
They might not buy it at the trial, but it works for me. Who else would sell it? Send it. Sell
it. That's the question we ought to be asking. Who and why?
And what now?
So, how are you dealing with what happened?
It's too early to tell. I didn't want to come back. I wish I could just close my eyes and make it all go away. But that wouldn't change anything. It would just make it worse. She's in danger. She still is. Maybe now more than ever. Trucy thinks we can find whoever sent me the letter. Well, it's a long shot.
Maybe not. Nothing will happen to Pearl. Nothing.
No. Yeah, we're at the ladder.
And Maya, for what it's worth, I'm sorry. I did what I thought was right. I'd do it again if I had to. That doesn't make it hurt any less. I know I can never take away that pain. But I didn't have a choice. It was either that or... Who am I kidding? I wish I could go back and erase everything. So this sounds like it could have applied to either thing.
Yeah. Nick, I don't blame you. And I know that she doesn't either. Oh, ooh. That doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
It's just a little off-putting.
Seriously, his hair looks a little weird.
Yeah, none of us do. We understand what you're going through. We're all sad, and we need to be there for each other. We'll work through it.
He looks like he'd be rolling his R's, you know? I wonder how many people are gonna get that.
I'm having trouble coming to terms myself, but there's nothing to be sorry for. Things might not ever be the same, but we'll figure it out and grow from it, become better people. And we'll find a way to cope, together.
What about Pearl?
I don't even know if she even wants to speak to us ever again.
Jesus.
Even if we never do, I know I still love her, and I'll do anything to protect her. And I know you would too. Let's solve this case. Oh god, we're gonna have 3 people at the bench. The 3 of us.
Just imagining that the last case in Ace Attorney 5 where all 3 of them pointing.
Oh god. Judge is like, Phoenix,
Thank
you gotta stop this.
Thank you, you two. I'll make things right.
No, we'll make things right.
Fuck you, I'm gonna be doing all the work.
Yep.
Okay, I guess this is where we'll end it.
Mr. Wright, you need to stop doing this. Stop bringing people into your bench.